According to El País, 37 candidates for this 2024 Mexican elections were killed by the cartel and also small gangs. The main reason these candidates were killed is mainly to create fear among the resultant candidates and show them who is really ruling the streets. This show of power by the cartels has made these elections the most violent elections in Mexico's history, surpassing last elections 34 candidates. The cartels targeted local politicians, not national ones, and the reason behind this is still unknown. But according to the New York Times, they are mainly being targeted because structurally they're the less powerful ones and the ones with the weakest resources to target a specific gang or cartel. The cartels are targeting a macro scale operation towards these low level ranking politicians so that they can manipulate the ones that are being left alive for the purpose of fear. Approximately 487 candidates have asked the federal government to give them protection. This number of candidates represents the amount of fear that the cartels have imposed on the elections of June the 2nd in Mexico. And so now I'm going to give the proposal towards this challenge. So my proposal is called Violence Prevention and Security Measures for Mexican Election Candidates. The description of this proposal is: this proposal aims to address the pervasive issue of violence against candidates in the 2024 Mexican elections by implementing comprehensive violence prevention and security measures. The objective of this is to ensure the safety and security of all candidates, thereby safeguarding the integrity of the electoral process and promoting democracy. The objectives of this proposal are the following. The first one is to ensure the safety and security of election candidates throughout the campaign period. The second objective is to mitigate the risk of violence and intimidation targeting candidates and their supporters. The third one is to enhance trust and confidence in the electoral process among the public. And the fourth one and last one is to preserve the democratic principles of free and fair elections. So now we go on to continue to describe the implementation. The first measurement we're going to take is a security assessment. This involves conducting a comprehensive assessment to identify potential security risk and vulnerabilities faced by election candidates. The assessment may include factors such as the candidate's political affiliation, geographic location, previous incidents of violence and threats from criminal organizations or rival political groups. The goal is to gather detailed information to inform the development of tailored security plans for each candidate. The second measurement we're going to take is security planning. Based on the findings of the security assessment, tailored security plans will be developed for each of the candidates. These plans will outline specific risk mitigation strategies and contingency measures to address identified threats. Security plans may include measures such as increased security personnel during campaign events, establishing secure communication channels, implementing travel restrictions in high-risk areas, and coordinating with local law enforcement agencies for support. The third measurement we're going to take is security training. Candidates and their campaign teams will receive specialized training on personnel security, threat awareness, and emergency response protocols. This training will equip them with the necessary skills and knowledge to identify potential threats, respond effectively to security incidents, and minimize risks to their safety. Training sessions may cover topics such as situational awareness, self-defense techniques, emergency evacuation procedures, and handling threatening communications. The fourth measurement we're going to take is enhanced security measures. To bolster the security of candidates and campaign events, additional security personnel, surveillance technology, and other resources will be deployed as needed. These may include increasing the presence of law enforcement officers at rallies and public appearances, installing CCTV cameras at campaign offices and event venues, and implementing access control measures to prevent unauthorized individuals from entering restricted areas. The goal is to create a secure environment that deters potential perpetrators and ensures the safety of all participants. And the last one we're going to take is public awareness campaign. A public awareness campaign will be launched to denounce violence against candidates and raise awareness among the general public about the importance of reporting threats or suspicious activities. This campaign may include media outreach, social media campaigns, public service announcements, and community engagement events. By highlighting the consequences of political violence and encouraging civic participation in ensuring candidate safety, the campaign aims to foster a culture of accountability and support for democratic values. So, what are the types of activities we're gonna do to reduce the violence? The first one is to do a security risk assessment towards the situations we're in. The second one will be security planning and implementation of these measurements. The third one, we will do training workshops for the candidates and also the campaign teams. Fourth one, we're gonna deploy a security personnel and resources in each of the political campaigns. And fifth and the last one, we're gonna do a public awareness campaign so that we can tell the public whether a meeting is risky or not risky. And so, what are the desirable outcomes that we want to get out of these activities? The first one is to reduce violence and intimidation targeting these election candidates. The second one is to improve the safety and the security of the candidates and also their events. The third one is the increased public trust and confidence in this electoral process. And the fourth one and the last one is the preservation of democratic principles and the integrity of these elections. And so now I'm going to talk about one of the most important things about these current elections, which are the cultural dynamics. Cultural attitudes towards violence. Cultural norms and attitudes towards violence may vary across different regions and communities in Mexico. Some areas may have a higher tolerance for political violence, while others may strongly condemn it. We also have the perception of political dissent. Cultural attitudes towards political dissent can influence how violence against candidates is perceived. In some cases, dissent may be met with intimidation or violence, reflecting a lack of tolerance for opposing viewpoints. Influence of traditional values. Traditional values and social hierarchies may impact power dynamics within communities, affecting how individuals perceive and respond to the threats against candidates. The role of indigenous cultures. Indigenous cultures in Mexico may have distinct cultural practices and governance structures that influence their engagement with the electoral process and attitudes towards political violence. For example, we have the Zapatista movement, which is an indigenous movement created by Emiliano Zapata, which is totally different from the current government we have. Power dynamics. So now we're going to talk about how are the power dynamics in Mexico and some of the viewpoints that some people have toward these power dynamics. Political power structures. Power dynamics within political parties and institutions can influence candidate safety. Candidates with strong political backing may receive more resources and support for security measures, while those with less influence may face greater risk. Influence of criminal organizations. Criminal organizations often wield significant power and can influence in certain regions of Mexico, posing a threat to candidates who challenge their interests. Candidates may face coercion or violence from criminal groups seeking to control electoral outcomes. The role of law enforcement. Power dynamics between candidates and law enforcement agencies can impact the effectiveness of security measures. Candidates may rely on law enforcement for protection, but corruption or collusion within security forces may undermine their trustworthiness. Community dynamics. Power dynamics within local communities can also influence candidate safety. Candidates may face resistance or support from community members based on factors such as political affiliations, social connections, and economic interest. Understanding these cultural and power dynamics is totally essential for designing effective security measures and fostering collaboration among stakeholders. By addressing underlying cultural attitudes and power imbalances, it is possible to develop strategies to promote candidate safety and uphold the integrity of the electoral process. So now I'm going to end up with my conclusion. Considering cultural aspects is crucial in addressing the issue of violence against election candidates in Mexico. As cultural norms, Power dynamics and attitudes towards violence can significantly influence the effectiveness of security measures. By taking into account these cultural elements and power dynamics and engaging relevant stakeholders, it is possible to develop comprehensive violence prevention strategies that promote the safety and integrity of the electoral process. As professionals or responsible citizens, it is our duty to advocate for democracy, human rights, and rule of law, and to work towards creating a society where political participation is free from violence and intimidation.